Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Real quick before we get into this video, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We are almost at 200 subscribers and I would so love if you would join our little family here on YouTube. Now, getting into this video, it's a big decision. It's a big decision. And if you're not a mom or a parent, you probably don't really know how heavy this decision is to make. But if you are a mom or another parent, you know how soulful this call is to make, to breastfeed, to not breastfeed, and if you do decide to breastfeed, when do you stop? So a little bit of backstory. When Charlie was born, she just really had issues latching. I was in so much pain and bleeding. She wasn't getting fed. She was losing weight. And part of what we decided to do initially just to get food into her was to pump milk for her, to give me a chance to heal and give her a chance to kind of catch up on weight. Well, that evolved into us exclusively pumping for her. And by us, I mean me. So about a weekend, that's when we made that decision to switch over from trying to nurse to pumping. So if you don't know what that means, if you haven't had a kid, if you haven't had experience around breastfeeding from another family member or friend, when you have a newborn baby, they eat every 2 to 3 hours, round the clock, no matter what. So if you are feeding your child from you, that means you are also either pumping or nursing every 2 to 3 hours around the clock. And you do that for the first 3 to 4 months, usually, until they kind of start sleeping in longer stretches at night. They can eat a little bit more and go a little bit longer. And obviously that kind of tapers down the older that they get until they're no longer getting breast milk or formula. But if you can imagine, you just had a baby, you're exhausted, you have no idea what you're doing because you're a brand new parent, and then you are responsible for keeping this tiny little thing alive, and you are the food source. That's a lot of pressure. So real quick, if you are embarking or thinking about breastfeeding, you're starting that journey in your life, please hear me, because I wouldn't have heard me if I had told me this a year ago. It's not that big of a deal. If you need to supplement a few feedings while you're getting your supply up, or if you need a break because you're about to lose your crap, it's okay. Your sanity matters more than what is in that bottle. Just please hear me, because I wish I had told myself that. I ran myself so ragged trying to be super mom and trying to build up a supply. I had an emergency C-section, which kind of hindered that coming in naturally, but I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed to the point where a doctor had to tell me, go home and go to bed. I need you to stay still for 6 hours. Do not pump, do not get up, do not do anything, because you are so tired. So if you are entering that phase of life, if you're in it right now, it's okay to rest. All of that being said, we're about 11 and a half months in to breastfeeding Charlie. Obviously for me, like I said, my way of doing that was through pumping, but I have decided to stop. And that was a really big deal for me. Because like I said, I had an emergency C-section. It took me so long to establish a good supply that would keep up with what she needed. Like for a while, I was maybe a bottle ahead, which is really scary, because what if she gets extra hungry that day and you don't have anything to give her? So I was almost militant about pumping and keeping everything on a schedule and tracking my ounces and making sure that she had enough. And to go from being that invested in something to just letting it go, it's bizarre. It's so weird. And it's bittersweet, because on one hand, it was such an ordeal and it was so much work and time and planning. And if you had to go out anywhere, you had to bring all your stuff with you, because you couldn't miss a pump session, because then your supply would go down, because it goes off supply and demand. If you're not emptying, then it's not making milk and then you're short. You had to bring all this equipment with you. It's a ton of dishes. If you ever tried to bottle feed a baby, you have bottles and phalanges and membranes and this and that and the other. It's a ton of dishes a day. And to go from that just all encompassing to just casually feeding formula for the next few weeks until she hits 1 and we start transitioning over to whole milk, it's so weird. It's so weird. It's great on one hand because I'm tired. I'm so tired. And I haven't had my body to myself in a year and 9 months. I've been catering to either growing this baby in me or I have been feeding this baby with me. And to have kind of that autonomy again, so nice. It just makes you feel like yourself again, just to be able to go and do what you want to do for the most part. Like obviously you still have a baby in tow, but I mean, you're not really worried about what you're eating. If you can have broccoli that day, if that's going to give them an upset stomach because you ate something that they didn't agree with, and it's just the list goes on and on. So that has been a wonderful transition on the positive side to being by myself. Also, ladies, if you have breastfed, you know what I'm about to say. Dropping in the middle of the night pump or feeding, I'm a new woman. I'm a new woman. I dropped it at 4 months because I could not hang. Oh my God, best sanity saver in the entire world. On the other hand, like I was saying, I was so invested in this, and a big part of me wanted to make it to a year of exclusively breastfeeding. And I didn't make it to a year on 2 fronts. I didn't make it to a year pumping breast milk for her. I stopped about a week ago. And I've just been thinking about how I feel about it, which is what prompted me to make this video. But even before stopping entirely, I actually started introducing formula around 7 or 8 months. I wanted to see if she could tolerate it, because there are some babies that just stomach-wise doesn't agree with. They just don't agree with formula. I know a bunch of moms that have tried every formula on the market, even some that are only available in Europe, and it just doesn't sit well. And that, that factors into your decision. If your baby can't handle another food source, then you're kind of stuck until they can kind of build those calories from solid food. So I wanted to see if she could tolerate it. She was a champ, totally didn't bug her at all. And that kind of started the weaning process for me. This all started pre-COVID, just so you know. So I was planning on being totally weaned by summer so I could go and visit my family and do whatever I wanted to do. And then COVID happened and we're all in the house bored forever. So that didn't really matter as much anymore, but it is still so nice just to be able to leave the house, even to just run an errand or go grocery shopping and just be able to throw a bottle of water, a bottle of formula into a diaper bag and leave. Like, so good. Instead of having to pack a cooler and ice and pre-measured bottles and it's a mess. It's worth it, but it's a production. So I am going to insert some footage I took last week. I was just sitting there last Sunday thinking about it and going, I think I'm done. I hadn't pumped in 4 days just to see if I could handle it, if I was going to get mastitis, which is something that can happen when you stop breastfeeding, or if I was going to get uncomfortable, and it was totally fine. I was definitely one of the lucky ones that was just able to kind of wean and stop. So at this point, I haven't pumped in over a week. And I'm still getting used to it. I still, like, every night I go, well, I gotta go pump. And then I go, no, I don't. I have my nightstand back. There's no pump on it anymore. I'm not having to pack any of that stuff. It's amazing. All that being said, I'm going to insert some footage here of all of the stuff that goes with exclusively pumping and bottle feeding for your baby and putting it all away. Look at all this. Bottles, pump bottles, duckbill membranes, conversion rings, vents and bottle nipples, backflow protectors to keep milk out of your pump, and all of these sets of flanges so that I didn't have to wash my only set every 2 hours, 8 times a day. Bottle caps, and I have so much more that I've already put away. For our EP journey, I mainly used the Spectra S1 Plus as my main pump. This one I loved because this handle is actually a night light that you can turn on. So for middle of the night pumping sessions, you don't have to wake up the entire house turning on the light. And it's also rechargeable. I found that I could probably go 5 or 6 different pump sessions between 30 and 40 minutes long on one charge. So it lasts forever. A couple of months in, I also ended up getting this Freeme Liberty mobile hands-free pump. It's pretty small. It's about the size of a softball, as you can see, and it's wearable. So like as the model has it on the box, you can literally clip this onto your pants, run the tubing underneath your shirt, and put the cups in your bra, and no one knows the difference. I have pumped in the grocery store, I have pumped getting my nails done, I have pumped many different places, and though it probably looked like I had weird shaped boobs, no one knew what was up. So this was such a lifesaver for being on the go, for leaving the house, for doing literally anything besides being home, because at some point you're just so over it, as I'm sure so many people get now with everything that's going on with the pandemic. This was wonderful. It is pricier than I would like it to be, but it was such a game changer. It's a thing, isn't it? Like, look at all of those bottles and flanges and pump parts, and just the list goes on. So you can see how liberating it is to be able to put all that away and not worry about it until the next baby. But if you are an exclusively pumping mama, I hope that emotionally this video has been a resource for you. I know there's not a lot of information about exclusively pumping for your baby, a lot of misinformation, even unfortunately from your OBs or lactation consultants. And very truly, Facebook saved my keister on this one. If you can find an exclusively pumping mama support group on Facebook, I cannot recommend it enough. It's your support system, it's your question and answers, it's your I tried this and did that, it's your product reviews on things that can help you make this process easier. If you are in need of a recommendation for a group, I will link one down in the description box. It is a private group, so you will have to request membership. It is worth every post. It is worth it. And if you are a breastfeeding mama, I am so on your team too. I know how much work it is to manage yourself and becoming a mom and then feeding this little baby from you and trying all of the latching and the getting used to and the discomfort and all of that. I'm so with you. And if you are a mama that decided to formula feed, absolutely go you, because you know what's best for your family and you and your baby. And if that's the decision you needed to make, I'm so on board with that. I'm so glad that both of you are happy and fed and good. That being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope it has been helpful for you. If you have any questions at all about exclusively pumping, how we came to that decision, things that happened along the way from newborn life to 1-year-old life, and how all of that has evolved, please leave them down in the comments below. I am more than happy to answer your questions or to point you in the right direction if it's not something I can directly answer. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.